Welcome everyone to another night of SatisFactory here at Ice Peak Gaming. I am Theriton, and we are going to have an interesting night ahead of us as we try to make turbo fuel more efficient, and if we happen to have Jactress show up, there might be other shenanigans in store. But I can't say anything, because for all I know she's watching the stream right now, and it would give things away. So, without further ado, let's talk about what we're going to do tonight. So you can see on these wonderful billboards ahead of us, I did a little bit of math. I've been playing around with the Blue Point generator between streams, and one of the things I whipped up was a quick little 3 refinery turbo fuel plant. Now, I sat down and I crunched the numbers of what was going in and what was coming out, and if I can put down 3 of those things, I will get 170 turbo fuel a minute as long as I can supply the inputs. Since one generator takes 4.5 turbo fuel a minute before we overclock it, we can run 37 fuel generators off of 3 of these little turbo fuel plants. Now, you might be asking, but I thought you had turbo fuel running already, and I kind of do. In this little block here, I have 5 refineries going, and they're doing turbo fuel, and they're doing quite nicely. But they've been sharded up to double their output to try to keep up with everything. And that has the downside of a non-linear increase in power. Now, Coffee Stain Studios was talking a little bit about changing overclocking, so it would be a straight, double the output, double the power cost. But that didn't make it into Update 7. And we don't know if it is going to make it into future updates. So for now, especially at this stage in factory building, it is far better if I can run more refineries without overclocking. Because every refinery, when you don't overclock it, is 30 megawatts. So if I can run 2 refineries, here we go. If I ran it at 100%, once this finishes going through, you'll see that it doesn't take 75 megawatts. It doesn't take anything close to 75 megawatts. I really shot myself in the foot there by cranking the speed down way too low for a moment. But you'll see in a second. So remember that when we had double the output, we were using 75 megawatts of power. At standard output, it's 30. So if I can put down 2 refineries at standard rate, that's 30 plus 30 is 60 megawatts power draw instead of 75. It's a little bit more space, but space is something I have lots of. So we're going to try and put out more refineries, not have to overclock them, and in doing so, we'll end up actually getting more of our power available to use for the rest of the factory, since it won't be used for these handy-dandy little refinery areas. So, the new blueprints menu, once you've created, download, however you want to get them, blueprints will show up as a new tab in your build menu. And like anything else, you can hover over it, press the key to map it to your hotbar. Now, I did know that I was already going to be building these, so I put down, or made sure to grab the materials already. Now, this is the interesting part here. I need to figure out the alignment of it, so right there. That should be it right there. If I did my job right. Yes. So this is going to be our input for compacted coal. Now, I couldn't actually rig the output for, what do you call it, fuel, the inputs outputs for fuel in the actual blueprint because I was right up to the edge of what the existing blueprint area would allow. So instead, as I fix where I have my ramps, I'll have to put that in by hand. So for now, I am going to just stick a splitter on here. And not be terribly concerned about how this paths. Okay, maybe I'm a little concerned. Yeah, good enough. So there's where our pipe output, outputs for fuel, I believe is going to be. Yes, this is our input side here at the front. So I couldn't make that connection at the time. It would have hit the outer edges of the blueprint manager, but there we go. That one's hooked up. That one's hooked up. Now, the electrical connections within the unit are already established, but I am going to have to hook up power to the outside. Now, obviously, my one mistake here was I shouldn't have bothered putting the ramps here on the outside edge. I needed to put them one in, like that. And I don't really need these signs now that I've talked about it. So, sign be gone. Let's give ourselves a little platform to work off of here. While we do the next one. Okay, and there we go. Now it's the same orientation. Okay, if we do go too far forward, it should go yellow on us. So that's our key point here, because it'll go yellow when it hits the railing. I do wish I had a little bit of a further away spot to do this from. Even just a little bit would be nicer. Maybe if I can do it from back here. Kind of live and learn where the snap points are on these things and how to set it up. Oh yes, that's much easier to do it from back there. Now this should be in line there. And I can hop back down here. Actually, no, that's right. I don't need it to be Mark II. I will not be using more than 300 a minute, so I am fine with Mark I pipes. Why confuse myself as to what the capacity of the system is when I don't need to? Okay. It's a second one. Get that railing back on. Maybe fix these railings while I'm at it. There we go. And now I guess I don't really need these catwalks here. Let's clean that up. Time to place down our third of these turbo fuel factories. And with what we learned from the previous one, we will drop a couple of foundations here. Give ourselves a better viewpoint to drop this factory down. The orientation we want. There we go. And that should do it right there. Might not be perfect, but it's within what I would consider an acceptable tolerance right now. Okay. We have 3 turbo fuel factories that are waiting for 2 things to happen here. We need to connect our outputs of turbo fuel, and we need to connect our input of fuel. So we'll connect between the buildings, and then we'll go into the buildings, and we'll just jump around to make sure that the inside connections at the back are not in the same situation as the inside connections at the front, which I think they are. Ugh. Alright, no, maybe this is not an acceptable condition for this building. I'm going to be super picky here because I'm going to be living with this for a long time. So we will tear this down and try again. Remember, folks, in SatisFactory, recycling is perfect, so the only shame in making mistakes is that which you put on yourself. So, of course, right now, there's somebody in my head who's kind of walking along behind me, ringing a bell and saying, shame, shame, because I like to beat myself up that way. Alright. I think I got all the bits and pieces here. So, let's try this again. Turbo fuel plant. I want to say that looks right. Oh, so close, and yet so far. This is definitely going to get trimmed in the video edit for YouTube, because who really wants to watch me mess up this many times? Not me, that's for sure. Gotta get all the little conveyors and the pipes and the junctions. Pretty good there. Did I miss anything? No. All right. I'm going to try something here. That should give me a collision warning now when I am placing our blueprint frame. So that means we're not touching it. That means we are. Does that look about right? No, that certainly isn't. There we go. I think that's it. It's surprisingly difficult to sometimes put these down. Perhaps my one complaint so far with the Blueprint Designer is exactly that, just the weirdness that results, or the difficulties that can sometimes result when you're trying to place them. And I'll show you what I mean with my little highway thing that I made as well, because unless there's something that I'm doing wrong with the Blueprint Designer, it's just not snapping to the right spot. Okay, that's too far back, so one forward and one over. That looks like it's correct. Looks like it's correct. Jetpack out of the water here. Yeah, looks like it's in the right spot this time. Okay. Progress. So we have our three blueprinted turbo fuel factories set up here. So we're going to go through and we're going to make sure that our connections for the turbo fuel, which is here at the back, are all set and that they're connected on the inside as well. Just because of the way the Blueprint Designer worked, I was not able to always get the pipe to actually go into that final pipe wall hole. I guess it sticks out just a little bit too far. Okay, so we have fuel at the front and turbo fuel at the back. Now this coal should be running all the way through, so that's good. But we kind of want to stop that so that we can decommission the other area and reroute our pipes. So we're just going to start with that. Soon enough, our happy greedy factories. Grab that, and while that grabs it, we're going to just check the pipe connections for the output fuel on these ones. There's one. And yes, I will be posting up this particular turbo fuel factory blueprint on SatisFactoryCalculator.com after the stream, so that anybody else who wants to use it can do so without having to worry about, reinventing the wheel, doing the same thing. And I also have a kind of a highway service overpass that I can show you that I've whipped up as well, that I will also be uploading. Okay, so that chunk's done. Okay, that's there. Now we clean up this. There's no more compacted coal on that. Autosave kicks in, no more compacted coal there. Okay. So the belts are done. This one's still running at base rate, so it's not getting rid of things as fast, especially since this is the one that's actually keeping the generators going at the moment. That's okay. We can still start to make headway on our dismantling plans, which will give us access to the fuel and turbo fuel feeds. I just want to get rid of at least the last little bits of one stack of this compacted coal that's in my inventory. Now we're just going to make sure that these two run at their fastest, most inefficient possible rate. clear their inputs, and then when those clear, we can move on to the next one. So at 37.5 per minute, we're looking at just over 2 minutes for this compacted coal to go away. And yes, Jactress, we did see that you are here, but not. If I am not terribly mistaken, I do believe that Jactress might currently be active on her own channel over at twitch.tv/Jagtress. That's Jagtress, doing some Destiny 2 right now. So if you do like first-person shooter style games, great one to check out. By all means, we like to support Jagtress and our moderators and other community members and streamers. So be sure to give her a look and a like and a follow if you like. Subscribe to her channel if you're really feeling, you've got that extra couple of bucks to spare a month. In the meantime, our compacted coal factory here is doing nicely. Our turbo fuel refinery here is doing nicely. So this right now is the incoming fuel. And that's the outgoing turbo fuel. It's going to look really messy to feed both, continue feeding both of them from one end. So I think what I'm going to do is put an input for the turbo fuel down here. Pipeline roll hole about there. I'll lose a little bit of turbo fuel here doing this. From there to there. And then we'll just add a new junction that feeds off this way. There we go. Now I can remove what's going on the other end without fear of having to completely redo that. And of course, the nice part about fluids is that you can just kind of put them where you need to. So that's going to be where we need to. Stick a pipeline right here from our turbo fuel up. And we're going to see where that would hit on the building. Kind of hits there, right? And then we'll go down and we'll claim that. So right now that line is under pressure from a pump at the other end. So it's filling actually with the turbo fuel from the other facility. That's fine and dandy for now. It actually frees it up a little bit and lets these ones keep producing a little bit longer. This one's done. So I'm going to start tearing it down piece by piece here. This one is also done. It's compacted coal. Oop. That was not what I meant to do. Guess I'll need to leave those junctions in there for now. And we'll just crank this compacted coal through. Ditch a little bit more of what was in my inventory. Now, my hope is that I can just completely destroy this building, which will open up enough space that I can do other things here. Huh, I didn't realize that was sticking through the wall so badly. I'll have to do something about that. That's at my truck stop. I'd put in a awesome sink as a overflow, just to handle things if it got backed up for some reason. And apparently I put it just a little too far back into the wall. We don't need that. Okay, so that's the wall structure gone. We definitely don't need these conveyor belts back here anymore. It's always nice and yet at the same time a little bit sad when you have to tear down your previous factory. You know, you put time and effort into building something and then you realize later on that it's just not quite right. Or it gets superseded by something else and you have a new recipe. Which, by the way, is going to be the fate of a number of the refineries that I originally put in here that are making some of this fuel. I'm going to have to build a whole new facility because some of the hard drives I hunted up the other day turned out to give me a new fuel recipe, or rather a heavy oil recipe. So it's more efficient and I'd like to use it, but it needs an extra stage of refining in the middle of it to work. So I can't just use it with my existing setup. Alright, one more. And there. That refinery is done. Now, I am going to lose a bunch of fuel when I do this. But the alternative is a whole bunch of really awkward maneuvering. So I'm going to get rid of these fuel pipes that are just going everywhere. And I can get rid of the turbo fuel pipe, but I'm going to let that live for a couple of minutes longer. Just so it has a chance to drain itself down a bit. Because we want a new supply of turbo fuel coming from the other end before we cut off the old one. Now I am aware that I could just do this. Then we could probably just do this. Plug it in that way. And that should work. There we go. Ideally, that would be going down. But in reality, we're going to need something to make sure that it goes up and over now, because we don't have a refinery there anymore to provide a pressure head. So we'll do it that way. And now we can see that it is doing its best to evacuate these pipes. There we go, it's coming down. A little bit of sloshing there. But still coming down nicely. We don't really want to waste a whole lot of the turbo fuel, but that's probably far enough down now that I don't feel too bad about wiping out sections of this pipe. And I will admit it feels nice to get rid of spaghetti. It's these pipes going everywhere. And we're still full of turbo fuel because it's kicking in from the other end. Okay, so that should be good. Now there's some of that fuel is coming from the refinery in here, and a bunch of it's coming down from up top. But either way, we've now got a nice clear area. Let's see what we can do in terms of putting in one or two more turbo fuel plants here. I'm going to have to fix that. That's bugging me so much. Okay, so that's one plant. 2, 3. Okay, so I can fit a total of 4 turbo fuel plants here. You know, that's probably pretty good. And the ramp is going to go there. Getting myself turned around backwards and forwards here. So we'll get this last one put in, hooked into the system. And once we have that in, I do believe it's going to be a great time to go off and check out other things that have been done in the meantime. Been working on a little bit on making the factory a bit more visually appealing, and that means I've been doing some highway work. I've been trying to add a few more colors and things, so hopefully everybody likes it. What are we? It looks real good right there. You know what this means. That goes across there, that goes across there. Smack the junction right there. Store that. Run our compacted coal across. Ooh. Whoa. Oh. Well, that would do it. I was wondering why there was a giant hole there. Because I forgot to put the last foundation in. I thought suddenly I'd misaligned things again. Let's try that again, going to the back of the factory to fix the last couple of pipe bits. I know I don't technically have to connect that right now because there's nothing that's connecting onto it. But if I don't put it in, I'm going to forget that I've missed it. And then at some point in the future when I do want to expand it, there's going to be bad times. Now, I guess I can just go there. I wonder if I can just upgrade this to be in place. No. Sadly, I cannot. But I can't do that. Which means I can hook that there, and now we should be off to the races. Before I forget though, always be safety first compliant, and keep your railings up. There we go. Now in theory this should still be pretty full. Yep, it's doing just fine. Okay, so our turbo fuel plant has been changed over. Hooray! Random extra piece of roof. So, you're pretty familiar by now seeing my highways with all sorts of street lamps and power cables and the like in the middle. But I don't think you're used to seeing them like this. So I ended up working out a 3-block wide highway service bridge, and it includes hookups for 2 rail tracks on the top, so I could start to put everything in. Got lights, we've got hypertubes, we've got power hookups. It's great stuff. Now, hello Lakila and hello Ozer. I'm not keeping a close enough eye on my chats here. I need to make things bigger so it's more obvious. So we're going to head back to our main factory now. And this is the hypertube cannon, how it's supposed to be working. You can see our nice, pretty, clean highway is working beautifully for trucks. Now we're elevated, we have a better view of the terrain, and we're working at speed. So that, of course, is our compacted coal factory down there. Or at least one of them. So the other thing I've been doing while I was offline was trying to make a new route for our coal trucks. Now, previously they were coming from Zandal's original coal power plant. From all indications, though, Zandal will not be joining us in the streams anymore. So his infrastructure is going to be absorbed for the greater good. I have just made a highway out there so the trucks move more easily, which we'll take in a minute. But what we're going to need to do is take a close look at this refining plant that he was making. Figure out what we're doing with it. So I have been spending a little bit of time to make this look a little bit nicer in that it is not just blocks of solid green everywhere now. So this is our new receiving facility for the coal. With our brand new highway out here. So what I'm thinking I need to do is probably set up is maybe actually either tear down that coal power plant, because I don't really need it at this point. I can add another 22 coal generators over to the turbo fuel area, or fuel generators to the turbo fuel area. But at the very least, I want the compressed coal that I was making up there to head down towards where Zandal was extracting and refining fuels. Because we're going to use all the material and space that he's plotted out there is going to become the genesis of our next evolution in plastics and rubber. So this one's a little bit more sedate, but you can see now the trucks are happily running along a fairly flat road bed here. There is still quite a bit of an elevation climb at the end, which is, a little unfortunate. You can see how these overpasses have the hookups already for dual train lines. So we're ready there. Remnants of the old highway that I haven't yet torn down, little ramps here and there, because most of the time the trucks were just running on bare ground. No longer. Now they're running a wonderful path right up and down the highways. Get there soon enough and take a look at what we've got. Okay, coming up to the coal plant. So that's the basic highway overpass at this point. Again, that's also a blueprint of just the overpass and a strip of the foundation block roadway at the bottom. So that will be uploaded to SatisFactoryCalculator.com probably later tonight or sometime tomorrow. So what we've got here, and I'm just going to come up a little bit on our radar tower. That warehouse looking block is the compressed coal factory. And you can see the amount of output that is being consumed from it to run that coal power plant. At the same time, I think I'm in a position where if I cut that coal power plant off from the grid, the rest of the grid's going to survive now. So these are doing 75 a minute, and there is 32 of them. So 32 times 75, that is 2,400. But if we look at our grid, we're producing 78 and consuming 36 right now. So if I take out 2,400 off of 78, I'm still left with 5,400. Our grid should be fine. I should be able to basically shut this place down without a terrible amount of consequence. My only qualm about this is like what I was talking about earlier. There is a lot of effort that goes into making these, and it's a shame to see it torn down. But I need all this compacted coal if I'm going to start making other things more efficient. For now, though, I think we're going to hop back down to our earlier part. Throw some gas in here. Go bombing down our new highway. Get to see if I still remember how to drive. Spent so long hypertubing around. Getting some nice air off the interchanges here because they're flat spots on downhills, so it gives me a bit of almost a ski jump as the ground starts to fall away again. But we're going to take the other highway out towards where Zandel's refining area was. And we're going to figure out what's going on there. I think I'm going to upgrade many of the highways inside the base to that same kind of clear centered overpass idea. For now, Jag has not yet had a chance to experience the awesomeness that is my highway service bridge, and so it's just a flat highway out here for now. Still, she's doing a really, really nice job of getting this put in, you know, with the radius curves and all that jazz, so that it's a really nice, easy drive here. Now we can see Zandel's refining area up ahead. And I know he's got a lot of crude oil, and he has a bunch of water available. So we're going to take a look at our recipes and see what we can do. So that's the end of the line over there right now. Don't need to leave our Explorer around. Okay. Yes, Jag definitely should experience the wonders of the highway overpass and the service bridge and the blueprints. Also, when she comes in, there will be shenanigans. She might not know exactly what they are yet, but she has to know they're coming. So this was my little kludge that I think Zandal would have killed me for if he was ever going to rejoin us, but it was trying to burn up some of the fuel that was being produced here since he was getting waterlogged all over the place. Now, we've got... oh, right. So we got an alternate recipe for heavy oil. The usual recipe for heavy oil takes 3 crude in, gives us 2 of a product and 2 heavy oil. Or in the case of plastic, 1. The alternate recipe that we got gives us 4 heavy oil and 2 residue. And I've actually run the numbers through, and using this alternate recipe is better than the fuel plus resin one, because I can take that heavy oil and then further turn it into products. Yeah, it is Jackie that we're talking about. There will always be shenanigans. I've known her too long and she's known me too long. They're shenanigans. So with all respect to the one who originally put this together, it's time to tear this apart. So we have crude oil pipelines. Wonderfully color-coded. I have to say, I love the color coding that Xandar was doing here. But this is all trying to produce fuel and polymer resin. We're about to switch that over. Instead, we are going to deliberately make heavy oil. Now the nice part about turbo fuel is it's pretty straightforward to switch a network of fuel generators over from one to the other. There's no terribly involved method. Okay, so that's all the first stagers now making heavy oil residue. And I believe they have nowhere to put that other than into the fuel pipes. amount of junctions and pipes and props to you, Zando, for putting this all together. But man, it looks like it's going to be a nightmare to change around. So I'm assuming blue is water. Yes, blue is water. So this is going to produce 40 heavy oil residue a minute. So that means on a Mark II pipe, which can handle 600, we are going to get, we can take 15 refineries. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Too many. I'm going to go up top and count from above. Do I have a nice vantage point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of them here. So we have one too many to fill a single Mark II pipe with heavy oil. Also, we don't need this chunk here. Because we're going to have one Mark II pipeline full of heavy oil. Hooray for noodling. Now, it's a little too dark for what I want. I want to be able to know that this is going to be heavy oil. And yep, there's going to be lots of purple in this layout because purple is the color of the heavy oil, and therefore purple is the color of this particular pipe. Oh, yeah, I missed a couple of. Oh. Not green pipe, purple. Come on. Okay. Awesome. This pipe is pretty well done, so I can get rid of the extra confusion going on here. And then I just have to figure out what to do with 600 cubic meters a minute of heavy oil. And, 300 polymer resin a minute. But that's okay. That's exactly what we want, right? Because the idea for this plant is less fuel and more solid product. You know what? All of these are also getting paint job because their purpose is heavy oil. Even more purple. Oh, the stream layout. Yes. Yes, I saw it and it looked appealing, and now I realize in hindsight that that also means it's appealing to those who love purple. Okay, so it looked like in the end he'd had 2 Mark II pipelines carrying fuel, but they weren't actually split to the different generators. They just kind of conjoined later on, which just means that the pressure head from the upper pipe overwhelms that of the lower pipe and stops it from doing much. Unfortunate. In any event, that is what that should be. And I just need it to finish draining away its fuel. Soon enough, this little chunk of power plant should go down. Oh, I thought we were done and then not. Fine, flushing it. But what? Why do we have more fuel? Ah, now we have heavy oil residue. There we go. Okay. This is now like instantly full of heavy oil residue. Don't tell me it's... Can it burn that? No. Pipe network flush. Okay. That should be flushed. There we go. So, now that we have heavy oil residue, we can turn that into fuel directly. So we can basically make 400 cubic meters a minute of fuel out of it. And that's going to mean we need 5 refineries doing fuel. Sounds good to me. Right now we don't need these. So we're going to start by building 5 refineries right down this end, with them all hooked to make fuel. Actually, maybe I should do it the other end, closer to the yeah, I'll do it to the other end, closer to the fuel generators. Especially since these ones are already hooked up to receive the polymer. There's nothing that says that I can't make this building a little bit more interesting. Let's that's very interesting that he's done this. So to stay out from underneath the highway, we need to be about here. Let's assume that we have, maybe put it there, sure. 1, 2, and then I get into the awesome sync and stuff above, so that's fine. That was just temporary anyway. Goodbye, thing that I clutched together at the end of last stream. Now that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 refineries. And the reason I'm doing it here is that for now I can easily run the pipe up and refuel those generators. But when I get the compacted coal brought over, it leaves me lots of space in between these refineries and where the generators already are that I can just pipe in the turbo fuel. Make it in Art Deco style. Interesting. I'm not quite sure how to do an Art Deco building in SatisFactory, to be perfectly honest. That's, it's really not something that I've played around with too much. It's an interesting challenge, though. Certainly something I should do. Now, I'm hoping I can get away with this. I guess it has to be a Mark II since I'm going to be putting out 400 at full rate. And I will repaint these to be fuel color once I've finished piping up this side. That looks vaguely fuel colored. Yeah, that works. I swear, as I'm running around here and just hearing this water splash a little bit, I'm getting all the flashbacks of being a kid and walking around with sopping wet shoes because I stepped in a puddle or something. Kaping. Shoutout was given to Jet. Ah, Jet is raiding. Whoa. 3 people. Hello, Jet Sword. We are doing some SatisFactory over here. I believe you were doing SatisFactory on your own stream up. You were doing your Fixmas Factory, weren't you? Well, over here right now, we're currently trying to overhaul a semi-abandoned fuel plant. It was kind of left behind for us to do with as we will. And so I am trying to make it into something that is useful in the current set of recipes that I have. Now, back here, this is going to be our heavy oil residue input. You know what? We'll just go up 5 right to the factory floor above us. If I'm super lucky, I can get away with kind of cheating here. Let's see if I can do that. Well, I know I can, it's just... yeah. Okay. So, if we go there... and then down to, say, there... So we're going to we're trying to set up processing of and yeah, Jet Sword, 4 per minute of those Wonder Stars is a lot of things that you require. I tried to originally set mine up to do 6 per minute, and I got like the 3 tiers feeding into it, and then I realized just how many base ornaments and ornament bundles, or base ornaments and then iron copper ornaments were required, and I significantly toned down my ambitions. I still ended up with a veritable skyscraper trying to hold that factory. I've both let this game run a little bit in the offline state just to build up materials, and I've also, at some points, what am I saying here? Been working offline to do some of the beautification and things on the factory. Like I overhauled some of our highways this weekend. This is heavy oil, so color code the line so I know what it is when I come back to it in a week, wondering why my plastic production isn't working anymore. So this should be working on residual fuel. Yeah. Wait a second. I totally did my math wrong, didn't I? I have 600 heavy oil residue. I need 10 of these, not 5. Um, yeah, my default swatch is a green. Some people, I like it. Other people, well, some don't. I have been recently trying to move away from just the one default color and to remember to actually paint buildings and things different colors, because not everybody thinks the world should be green, especially when we're heartless industrialists, creating pollution and just stripping the resources. I do have the power to spare for now, but I'm trying to do this in a way that will support kind of expansion and things long term, which means if I put them in now and I overclock it right away, they're at max capacity. If I build it so that it handles my current production needs at 100% rate right now, then I've got some wiggle room down the road. The intent is to build my kind of turbo fuel factory for this area over underneath the rest of this second story area. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, that's more like the number of things that I'm going to need to handle 600 meters or cubic meters per minute of heavy oil residue. And just because I love to have my walls up, for some reason I don't really like having my factories operate in open air. It just doesn't seem right to have everything exposed to the elements that way. So I'm a great one for closing it in. Unfortunately, also a little bit lazy at times, and when I close it in, I then just leave it as a plain box. I don't know. I mean, I could paint it some weird combination of purple and fuel orange. so that I know exactly what this thing is doing. This might take a while, though. There we go. I'm getting a crazy harlequin roll. If I didn't know Jag was watching the stream right now, or at least looking in on it from time to time, I would try to do something that would really make her scratch her head by the time she came back in. But I'm pretty sure she's got it up on a side monitor or something while she guns down helpless blueberries in Destiny. But I also just kind of want to get this working, so... That has to be Mark II pipeline all the way here. That's dangerous, actually. All the way here. Now I need to put in my junctions. Soon I will be able to hook up power to this, connect it up to the set of fuel generators that's here that will not use anywhere near the amount of fuel that this is currently putting out. And then I can go up top and work on the other portion of this, which is turning polymer resin into things I want. Make sure all these are done, because I don't remember if I set up the recipe in all of them. Three, 5, 7, 9. Okay. Now, the super fun part, which is going to be getting it all the way back up there. I have a feeling I should go up top first. Let's make a little door here for a second. Okay, you should have power. So I need to go up top and hook in fuel. Now, I'm hoping that this one's hooked in. No. Could it be? Where is it going to take me? Oh, hooray. Roughly where I needed to go. Now, the question is, okay. That is where my random floor hole from the other refinery came in. Okay. Well, never let something like common sense stop you from making your factory the way you want, right? How about we go up there? And one noodle. There we go. Not. I just, regarding the Mark 1 versus Mark 2 outlets, I just keep forgetting to remap my hotbar. That's literally all it is. Very curious. I doubt that it'll be able to make it all the way up there without a pump, but you never know. So I figure I'll give it a chance to see. Fills up that one. It doesn't get all the way up there. Okay. As expected. Yeah, where's our nearest power line? There we go. That should, I think, be enough to get it up and over and down. Yep. You've got flow rate, that's for sure. Which means that now I just need to go over here. I think I'll run a floor hole here. No, I don't want a noodle, I want it nice and straight. Then I'll put a junction here. And then I just need to make sure I connect the other side of this back into there. Now we're on the fuel side of things, so gotta make sure we make it fuel colored. And then it's time to take a dive. Now I'm going to need a wall hole about there. And then I'm probably going to need another Mark II pump here as well. That's fine. Kind of expected when going back up that kind of a height. No way is the, or should the lift from the refineries be able to do it. Not quite, so. But we don't have to make it super obvious. So we can hide the pipe in here, or the pump in here. Press E to switch, between the pipe type, or the types of pipes? Yes. Very aware on that one. I think it's R though. Just like you would change for zooping. Alright, we've got flow rate coming in here. We've got fuel generators happily working away. All right. That part of the deal is done. Of course, it looks like the refineries are always going to be just that little bit too tall for a 4-block. But that's okay, because while we leave the stacks visible, we're going to do bouncing. What can I say, Jag? I'm practicing for Destiny. Bouncing everywhere all the time. Ugh. It's one thing that bugs me the most about the game so far. There we are. Get ourselves some roofs that I can make the decoration on later. Guess I should get the angled roof wall there. And we'll just finish closing that in. I'll color it later when I'm not on the stream. I'm missing concrete, really? Alright, that's fine. I can deal with it. Gimme. There. Yes, I am tearing down some walls just so I can put the roof on this. There we go. Roofed in. You have little smokestacks at the back, but I don't care. So that is going to lock up pretty quickly if I don't deal with the next thing, which is the polymer resin that it produces. So right now, actually, I can just restore these buildings, can't I? Give them back the water that I tore down earlier. And I should have a fairly decent stream of rubber and plastics coming out in a minute. I still need to find some more hard drives so that I can get all of the alternate recipes. That looks like watercolor. Water, water. Water. It's all the same swatch, but the difference in how that purple appears between when it's in the shade and when it's in the light is crazy. It's a huge difference. And right, I don't need that or that. Doing funky things now. And that is a remnant of something I was doing before. Okay, so these should happily be making plastics and rubber, which is now flowing down the line to my main base. And this one's locked up because we're not yet using all the fuel, so it's not using all the heavy oil, etc., etc. One thing I was trying before was running a packager straight into an awesome sink, just to use up more fuel. In the long run, I'll put down more fuel generators. For now, I think it's time to go take a hypertube back to the main base. Because we're coming pretty close to the end of the stream time. Okay. So we're back at the main factory at this point. I am slowly making progress on that automated wiring factory that I've been trying desperately to avoid. But we did find a copper ingot alternate recipe. And so that is now another blueprintable thing to throw down. That'll take up to 150 copper ore a minute in and spit out 300 copper ingots. So that's been a nice boost to the production levels. Of course, it's not currently being used at the level it needs to be, so it's just sitting there backed up, but that's okay. We've got things going on. Over here, I have discontinued all the truck runs to this. Okay, it's managed to put off all of its stuff. So my next task is going to be to try to trace all of these coal lines that I set up bit by bit over time and tie them all in to the two new ones that are coming here. That's going to be an interesting one. I have been, as you can see, trying to get everything off the ground and onto the ceilings, but I might have to have my main materials run on the ground and then building specific stuff on the ceiling, because otherwise it just gets to be too many things trying to dodge over or under each other, and it's a mess. But there's no trucks using this anymore, which means I can get rid of that. And I no longer need to worry about getting run over down here. So I suppose that means that I can just make it pedestrian safe, at least with the way that I have been using that in the past. Yay, make everything concrete. Okay, so that is that. I think we're coming really close to the end of our stream time tonight. So I believe I'm going to leave it here as I slowly try to trace through the spaghetti, which is a adventure all of its own. But right now we should be, yep, we can see that we're getting the materials in from that refinery station we were working on. They're being sorted. Plastic is stockpiling. And the rubber is being used for parts that are currently ending up in the sink. I wonder how many points. Oh, another 11 coupons. At this point, I'm going to be getting statues soon. I'm running out of things to buy. It's a wonderful experience. Alright, stream, I have one question for you here. I have 62 tickets. What should I buy? I've already got all of the lights, all of the signs. We've got everything except for the clean pipelines. You know what, I'm going to get the clean pipelines just because it was really visually confusing in that refinery with all the extra things moving around. We have everything in the foundations. We don't have tilted walls yet. And we're missing a couple of the structural beam and frame sets. In terms of customizers, we've got it all. We have our cart. We have some statues and things. I don't have a coffee cup, I will admit that. Any ideas? What should I be purchasing here? What do we think? I feel like I'm just kind of cleaning up the sections here as I go. So if I do all of these, that's 27. That's still going to leave me a bunch. Oh, did I not grab the tickets? I did. There we go. I'm not seeing anybody speak up. I guess that's what I get. And now I've got 35 left. What can I get for 35? We can get an adequate pioneering trophy. We could blow it all on biomass. I could be really lazy and just get 100 computers that I need to make the next space elevator part. Anyway, at this point, I think we will end off looking here at our depressing message from HR for the day. Thank you, everybody, for following tonight and for joining us here at Ice Peak Gaming. My name is Theriton. I'm going to be ending off the stream, so do come back and join us. We'll be doing a stream same time on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, which is 11 p.m. Eastern. We're also going to be trying out Destiny 2 tomorrow night. I've played a couple of hours. I'm still a horrible, horrible noob. So we will see whether or not I get myself killed in more than one embarrassing way for the night and have some fun with that. We do have our Discord, our Facebook, and our Twitter all running, so there's links in the chat for those. Feel free to join us on those channels as well. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, signing off, I'm Theriton, Ice Peak Gaming. Have yourself a great night.